Are we off?
Looks like it.
Fuck yeah. Out of the stratosphere. I'm
Kia ora.
recording. I'm recording in the bedroom today. Not the bedroom, the living room by the
I'm in.
fire.
I've moved from the garage to the bedroom.
All of us are moving around. Dan's still in the wank pit though. So never fear, listeners.
Humanity's teetering on the end of civilization, but I've gone from the garage to the bedroom. So
Well, I've got a
sen-
nice. Me and Chili got a nice toasty fire going.
lovely.
It's chilly there.
Chili's here, yeah. He's just lying down. Lazy little prick.
You seem pretty upbeat, Dom.
What do you keep saying that for? It's the
I
second time you said that.
I don't know. Is it because you went marching?
No, I'm a bit worried about the old COVID after that, but being high
Yeah.
risk and all.
Yeah, I feel that's a pretty interesting thing to discuss and something I want to ask you about too is your decision making and attending because you're obviously an at-risk person
Mm.
because of your health. So just
Why did I go? I guess it felt like the kind of thing. I don't know. It was. It felt like the risk was outweighed by the importance of showing solidarity,
yeah,
and I think obviously and we'll probably talk about this with our guest, I imagine, but with the timing, with the arms down movement and the review of the armed cops here, it sort of couldn't be more sort of precedent to what's going on here as well. Is
yeah,
obviously showing solidarity to people in America. So
yeah. Well, a lot of people who were calling for the lockdown to be ended for businesses to open are now pissed that people were were at a march. So
yeah.
now they don't want the lockdown to be shut down.
To be honest though, because I had a mask on and was trying to sort of social distance to some degree, but then you kept on seeing people there and they just run up and hug you, and it's just like, motherfucker, we've still got a pandemic going.
Yeah, I think I know who one of the organizers is. I don't know him personally, but he's a young rapper, Mo Muse.
Yeah.
Apparently they weren't expecting such a turnout, and therefore, like, it was just maintaining COVID protocol was out the window, really.
Well, I don't think the cops did either. There were no cops there.
Yeah, crazy, right?
I saw like maybe 3 cops the whole time, and normally at a protest like that, they're just everywhere.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, very strange.
So yeah, I think that because they put it together in like a day or two, right?
Real quickly, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Fuck, I feel shitty. Like, this whole week's felt shitty to me, but I'm gonna go march on Saturday. I guess that will feel better.
Yeah.
But fuck, I don't know, just so much bullshit and like people arguing about or trivializing like protest. It's fucking pissed me off.
Yeah, and I think especially people that like I've seen at fucking protests, but they know what's up as well, but have just got a bit older, and it's just kind of like, well, I'm pragmatic in my old age, and I just think that maybe, like,
Yeah. Well, it's like, because to all the debate, like, I think it's over trivialized, like, all of it. So 3 simple questions I thought of is, okay, did that cop murder that man? Yes. Like, you see him murder him. Did he have good reason or any reason to murder that man? No. Like, these are simple answers. Then the third question I come to is, do African American people have access to justice? No. And then so everything that is happening is a response to that, and people want to like divide it all and pick out, who's protesting correctly and who's not. And when you start doing that, you sound like a fucking cop. Like, I saw people sharing a meme that was apparently pro-protest, but saying that people that loot and riot should be in prison. And it's like, you want, like, so there's black people looting and rioting. You want to hand them over to the fucking police. You're a fucking cop.
You're saying cock or cop?
both, but cop.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I
It's got,
agree.
it's got me down.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, it's always going to be like this, you know what I mean? And I think that it's sort of good when people show you what side they're on, and that's not to say that you should always write people off, because obviously people go back and forth and you can convince people and blah blah blah. But you know, it doesn't matter what the issue is. It's just there's always going to be people that, because the majority of people out there, you know, or maybe not I think the majority, they just want the status quo, you know, they just want capitalism, but maybe just a little bit nicer with like a new paint job, you know. And I think that these kind of issues and the riots and the uprising and the like you say, the complete lack of justice for African Americans, and I mean for you know, people of color around the world, it's just like that really highlights how flawed the system is, and I think that scares a lot of people, you know, like who are invested in the system, who maybe have quite a nice life.
Yeah.
And so they try and justify that.
Yeah. I think like I imagine the people that listen to this podcast aren't of that ilk. So my advice to our listeners would be, if people want to enter into one of those conversations with you, just politely ask them to take a look at where their priorities lie and say, because at the moment you're committing the crime of impersonating a cop, and if you want to be a cop, you should fucking go be one. But if you don't want to be a cop, have a look at where your priorities lie, because you're diluting the fact that a man was murdered by a cop, and he's not the only one. It's been happening for fucking ever. And
what about how that one cop had he murdered like 2 or 3 other people?
Yeah, and a Democratic presidential nominee, Amy Klobuchar, was the Attorney General of Minneapolis, and he was in front of her. She decided not to press charges against him. Let him keep killing.
What do you think about that, Dan?
I hadn't heard that last part.
Yeah.
But we should save some of this conversation for our guest, because I imagine he's going to want to chat about it.
I guess if just before I forget though, because you know we start going off on different tangents and stuff, I think it's important to say that, like, I considered earlier this week asking you guys if you even wanted to record this week, because I don't know, it just felt silly, but then I think it's kind of important too, and I'm glad we have the guests we have this week, but it's important to acknowledge that, like, yeah, there's very much a heavy focus on the States, but in New Zealand and Australia, where I live, police continue to murder Indigenous people with impunity, and yeah, it's really fucked.
Yeah, I mean, that exactly. You can apply, because this might mean people were like saying, "Oh, but why are you marching for Black Lives Matter in New Zealand?" And it's like, well, you know, obviously to show solidarity and to, you know, stand up against how abhorrent what is going on in the States, but it's also like, yeah, you can take that exact lens and focus it back on New Zealand, on Australia, on pretty much any country, and the exact same things happening in different, and it's, you know, it's different, but it's the same.
Yeah, hard out.
Know?
And there's so many reasons to do it in this part of the world. A, black people live in this part of the world.
Yeah, hard out.
And B, we also have racist police forces fucking murdering people. So it's very relevant.
Yeah, totally.
Should we move on from that for now?
Yeah, I'm depressed now too.
I'm fucking. Are you depressed, Dan?
Dan doesn't get depressed.
No, he's experiencing joy constantly.
All the time. Just one long orgasm.
Hey, friends of the podcast. You know what?
That's you guys.
You know what fucking week it is?
What week's that, Todd?
It's fucking bonus episode week.
Yeah, boy.
So, I sent out a message to the patrons this morning, but it feels like the Eminem song. You know, I sent you all these letters. We got a question back, but if you're listening today, which is Wednesday, fucking hell, if you're listening to the podcast now, we'll be recording the bonus episode Thursday night. So get your questions, comments, like, I keep forgetting to say, give us your thoughts and comments before I say questions, as though we have fucking answers to everything. We'd love to hear your point of view and your opinions, and engage in that way rather than just tell you what we have for dinner, some bullshit like that. So in order to get your question on the podcast, you need to be a patron, which I think we're going to hit the 50 mark this week.
Yep.
Cool, huh?
Woohoo.
And which is excellent. This week we were able to make a donation to bail funds in the States, and on behalf of you guys and ourselves, obviously, and we'd like to be able to do more of that stuff in the future. Obviously, we want to make some money as well, but it was cool to be able to do that. I had another fucking point about that. Oh, if you've ever been bailed or released from jail, fucking donating to a bail fund is perhaps one of the greatest gifts you could give. So I'd encourage people to donate.
Hard out.
It feels like I'm doing this by myself. Did you?
Oh no, you're just in such a fucking role that I was like, look at him go.
Did you eat some hash before this episode?
No, I didn't. But I'm just quite tired. I had to take some tramadol because my back's so sore.
Yeah, you look very relaxed now. You don't look like your back's sore at all.
It is. It's horrible.
Okay.
I feel like someone stabbed me like just at the bottom of my spine.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Was it you, Dan? You
it was me.
Cool.
One more thing, another sad note. If you've listened to old episodes, you would have heard us shout out a guy frequently, Leon Taylor, who did our artwork for us. He passed away unexpectedly last week, and we didn't have a very close or personal relationship with Leon. I've met him a couple of times, but the statements and sentiments I've seen from people that were close to him were so true to the impression I think we all got of him.
Yeah, hard out.
That he was like a super supportive, generous person who was like a member of many communities, and in all those communities he was there to be of service to others and give what he had and be encouraging. And he certainly did that with like the podcast, and he also did that with my music as well, was always super supportive. So really sad to hear of Leon's passing. Is it a Give a Little?
Yeah, Give a Little fund for his partner and to pay for funeral costs and to support her. We'll put it in the show notes for this.
Yeah, so he's left behind. He's a young man, and he's left behind his wife and family and friends. So there's a page you can support them of. On behalf of patrons and ourselves, again, we've donated to that. So yeah, on that sad note,
I'm sending it to you now, Dan, so you don't forget. So if it's not in the show notes, it's Dan's fault, and you can write him an abusive message, or just turn up to his house. The address is on the Facebook page.
Make a note of that, Dan. Angry mobs are coming to your house.
Yeah. All right, play the music, Dan. Welcome back. A little bit older, a little bit uglier.
We couldn't get another producer, so Dan's back as well.
Look at this, Dan.
We can divulge all this now.
This is what Todd's been itching to get into.
I didn't necessarily like him, but I respected him.
Well, everyone needs jewelry.
He's a maniac.
Further to him crippled.
This is an audio podcast, Dom.
Sure. What do you think, Dan?
This week's guest is an artist, rapper. Can sing all right too. His name's Raiza Biza. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Hey man, thank you. I've been looking forward to this for a while. And some might say, in certain circles, I may have been, part of, I might have been the straw that broke the camel's back as far as getting finally getting the lads back together on the pod, but I'm not taking any credit back.
No, it's true. I was actually going to say that.
Hey.
There was you and there's one other person said something, and then we're like, oh wow, the people have spoken.
Yeah, that's how I felt, and I felt like you guys were ahead of the curve, big time.
Yeah, now we come back and we're behind the curve. Everyone else is taking us.
That's
Would it be like?
This brings me to a point that I forget to mention 10 episodes in, but my handsome friend Benny Mead from London was like, the whole time the podcast was gone, just intermittently every few months he'd hit me up saying you should bring the podcast back, and I was like, never. And it's back. So thank you, Benny. Thank you, Raiza, and the other three
English?
people. Yeah.
Imagine if he came to New Zealand and just realised it's full of mumbling people talking shit constantly.
Like you could get this anywhere you go.
Yeah, anywhere you want. Walk up to anyone.
What have you been up to, Ray? What's happening in fucking... well, Hamilton must be kind of like living in quarantine anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, it was really, it was weird because it was for me. This whole situation has been like when you don't want to go outside, but then someone's like, "Yo, don't go outside," and then you're like, "Yo, maybe I do want to go, but no, I still really don't want to go outside."
Yeah.
So I was just. I've just been making a lot of music and just catching up on things that I had just been procrastinating like crazy with, you know what I mean? And I just had like no option left but to deal with. And I've been super productive.
Nice.
When does this air or like
tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Because I've got some. By that time, no, go. Yeah. Like
when's your shit dropping?
It's fucked up because it's like a surprise album, but
Oh, okay. Don't worry, we only have like 10 listeners, so.
Okay, well, fuck it, you know what I mean? Well, by Thursday there's gonna be a whole ass album out there, like no one knew.
True.
Oh.
Because you just put out an album late last year as well. Your opus.
Yeah. It was like I don't like it anymore, but it was one of the.
There's hip hop though, eh? It's like every rapper is just like sick of their shit by the time it comes out.
And the one you like the least is the one people talk to you about the most.
Yeah. It was like. It's like I don't feel like that anymore, and like I don't stand on those things I said, and that's the fucked up thing about like rap music or like vocal, like because I was someone was saying to me the other day, they were like, man, rap is like such an obnoxious and like ego driven genre, and I was like, my first instinct was to defend it, like no, but then I was like, really, what? You just got a person just saying shit to you for like a whole album. Like just saying I don't know, the things that don't
stream of conscious, yeah.
That's how we slip so seamlessly into podcasting.
Yeah,
it's like you're just dropping an album every week, like
yeah. But I mean, we talked about that before, eh? Like that. I think the thing that quite often fucks you up with rap music is that the average song is about 3 or 4 pages of words. And if you think about doing a bunch of albums, there's no way you're not going to say some like dumb shit, especially when you're young over that period of time. Whereas, like I remember when I've written for bands like, country bands or rock bands, it's like, man, you can have 8 lines and that's, and only song. 2 of them need to be good. And then that's you.
And that's, I think that's also why I kind of envy other genres of music a little bit, because they can leave so much more to the listener to decide what, you know what I mean, like what they want to take from it. Like they can just be like, and then the sky fell to the ground, and then it's like you figure that out, like apply that to your life and figure out like how when the sky, but with rap it's like and then I went to the corner store and then I saw Jim and he was like, yo, it's like it's very difficult to leave room for the listener to like
to be esoteric,
their own, and
yeah.
I mean, some rappers do it.
Yeah, I personally, I was never good at like being straightforward. Maybe it's because I was such a sneaky child. So, like, I just gravitated towards like fucking speaking metaphorically. And...
Oh, you were really good. Like, that was your bag. Like, there's records of yours that that I at one point I'll probably have to, I'll ask you what they're actually about, but I almost don't want to know because
Yeah,
I
right.
had my lens kind of shaped the story, and I was like, yeah, I like that story. I like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, yeah, you're right. It definitely can be done.
That's nice too, what you're describing when as an artist you're like, oh, I'd love to know what they meant. But then you're like, oh, but I can just appreciate what I think it means. Like you can
And
just
it's like,
kind of
because sometimes the answer to that question isn't might fuck up your whole
yeah.
damn, really? You were just on acid that day and you just okay.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
always,
have it.
find, I always find you forget as well, like when you go back to old songs
Yeah.
and you're like, oh man, I know there was a metaphor for something, but I can't fucking remember
Yeah,
what it was.
But today it means absolutely nothing, I'm afraid.
exactly. It shows you will always get that shit, especially like, it shows. I mean, come on, like I'm one of the people. I make use of the bar tab. Like we're getting the bar tab, we're getting that
Oh,
shit, and by the end of the night, like you really cannot do too much waxing poetic over the breakdowns of various lines and shit. Like what I mean, like it's like I don't even remember, bro. Like what I said.
How drunk can you get and still rap on stage?
Oh, I mean, I got to a point now I'll do most of my drinking after the set,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll give you a direct answer. It doesn't matter how drunk I am. I will hit you with my 16. The breath control is on point.
Really? You still got good breath control when you're pissed?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because that's usually the one that goes out the
I
window.
don't know how, but it's like I've even had sets when I remember I played Laneways one time and I thought that I was I felt like I was drunk. And then I did this, we did the set, we had the band and everything. And then afterwards, I apologized to everyone in the band. I was like, yo, guys, listen, man, I'm really sorry. Like, up the ball. And they're like, yo, what do you mean? Like, that was dope. I was like, what do you mean? Like, that was, and then they were like, no, that was great. And I was like, nah, I got this shit. Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep going down this path. But no, I don't do that anymore. Like, just because I can do it well just on some muscle memory shit. But the only thing is that I don't know anymore how well I'm doing. You know what I mean? I feel like the more drunk you get, you just have you lose your sense of being able to like judge yourself or like am I doing good, or you just kind of like yo blah, 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 and you hopefully it's you know what I mean. Hopefully,
yeah. Like
See, I don't have that problem. I have like 3 beers and it's like I've never performed before in my life. Oh, look at this guy. He's doing his first show. That's nice.
But it's like that feeling after a show, right? When you're like, oh fuck, I don't even really know what just happened.
Yeah.
That's most of my shows I've ever done, I think.
Yeah, it's honestly it's almost like a sport, man. Like, they can't explain. Like, man, a lot of what do you call them? Sports people, athletes. They, a lot of them are not really the most intelligent people, but they have in their specific field, they are like a fucking neuroscientist. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they will explain to you why or how or why they're that good. You know what I mean? Why are you better than that person next to you? I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't know the secret of why it is. They just perform at that level. And and sometimes, I think sometimes in the creative fields, it can be like that. And that's why it'd be super weird when you hear someone who made like some crazy song that was super deep and like changed the world, and like they in an interview and they're like, yeah, so like politics and socio-economics and shit. And they're just like, yo, I just made some shit. I felt the shit, and y'all felt it also, it seems, and here we are.
Yeah, hard out. I think music's like that. It's often the shit that you're just like, you don't really have an explanation for that people like the most. You don't know why or how you created that song.
Mm-hmm. What's the funny thing about being an artist, right, is people expect you to talk on all these different subjects, like, Like I've been asked to go on the radio before and talk about fucking housing and then talk about education and shit. And it's like, I mean, I will if you want, but it's like I'm a fucking poet. You know what I mean? It's like there's probably better people you can get, but there's that kind of expectation. I think if you do something with words, that you're going to sort of have these informed opinions on things.
Yeah. What was the interview you did? Was it on housing?
I did that one on housing after I did that poem about housing, and then they were like, "Oh, can you come up on national radio and do an interview?" And I thought it was just going to be about the poem, and then they were asking me about housing policy and shit. And lucky I know a little bit about that. And then before I went up, I asked our friend Louisa, who's been on the podcast. I was like, "Oh shit, what should I say?" And she gave me some pointers, and luckily they sort of fitted in.
Good.
Nice. Got a little research in, but
I looked way smarter than I was.
Yeah, it'd be like that, and you kind of, and especially like me early in my career, I was really, I think the type of music I was into was a lot more poetic, and like that's what I liked making at that time. And I've got like, man, like I've got records like Girl with No Name and this other record called Flashbacks. Like Girl with No Name is the sample from the Girl from Ipanema, I think is the original sample. Like the song called Flashbacks. And basically, long story short, right, was so I put these records out, and then like the type of girls that started listening to my music were like the ones that, like they'll have like the Dreamcatcher tattoo, on the back, got the incense, burning, and
Dan's got one of those tattoos.
He charges crystals as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, she definitely does that. She charges crystals, and very spirit. Erica Badu, on repeat. And it was crazy because they would like come to my shows and stuff, and like they would conversate with me, and I feel like I was supposed to be. They expected me to be a lot deeper than I was. Like, you know what I mean? Because of those records, and I was like, and I would kind of almost try, like, not to kind of, on some fake shit, but like, I would try and answer some of the questions, like, how do you, like, what's your philosophy on, like, spirituality or something like that? And I'm like,
tell them, ask Mellow Downs.
I'll be like, yo, like, matter of fact, I got the homie right here.
Yeah, go see the bro.
And I'm just like, smoking an hour, like, I just had a tequila show or something. I'm just like, it's the human condition is much more complicated than that. You know what I mean? Like, we probably have all of that in us. You know what I mean? In some type of way, shape, and form, at a certain moment. But it's, I think, with art, it's like, you can, that's the thing about it, is like we are here making like a 3-minute section of a feeling, you know what I mean, like of a fleeting emotion or something we thought or felt at that, you know what I mean, or at that specific time or whatever, and not necessarily, and if that song becomes bigger than life or larger than yourself, then you become defined, by that. And
but it's almost like it's a language, right? It's sort of like, like whether it's with poetry or rapping or whatever it is, it's like when you're speaking that language, you can be more articulate and you can sum ideas up like that. But when you're off stage, you're not in the booth, then you know what I mean? Like, I find it becomes, it's I'm way less articulate, obviously improving it right now off stage, than I am on. But then there's other people, right, like academics that you talk to, and that's their language, is to sort of speak about that shit in that way,
right off the cuff or whatever.
I mean, like Chloe we had on last week, it was like the way that she's summarizing really complicated ideas and just banging them out.
You said that exactly right. You know what I mean? Because like when you like some of the poems that you do, and I think some of your best ones are the most simple ones, you know what I mean? Where it's like almost, it's like, it's a line that just, you know what I mean? It just fucks your whole, like, you're just like, whoa, like, damn, okay, as opposed to, and that probably takes a lot of thought and a lot of, or maybe at the same, it probably takes a lot of thought, but at the same time, not much thought. Like you see, it's just like I was talking about like athletes. It's like as soon as I try and fucking like explain it or try and put it into words or the process, it just like floats out into the air.
Well, my philosophy is like I believe that you only have so much creative energy, right? And so you can choose to put that where you want. And if you want to, you can put your creative energy into being the smart guy, and being really tricky, or you can put the creative energy into being honest, or wherever you want, and divide that up in that way. And I think that, I guess in my old age, I've decided that I want to be honest and simple, and there is such a craft to that, rather than
whatever direction you go, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Is it a wardrobe behind you, Todd?
Yeah.
Is that full of fucking clothes?
A walk-in, bro.
Jesus Christ, for listeners, it looks like a fucking shop.
Yeah. I don't know if now's the time to be exposing my penchant.
I wish we were the same size. I come around there and
yeah, well, you can come around and have a look
get
through.
some clothes in.
What was I going to say? Oh, it's like a video game where at the start, you load your stats and you have a limited amount. You're like, I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to put it in here.
Yeah, totally. I really think that's true, and you see that a lot. I read it. Raiza, I saw an article in the newspaper a while ago saying that Hamilton has a new cafe, and the article was sort of saying Hamilton's on the way up, and they had photos of this cafe.
Is this true?
It's true, yeah.
Oh shit!
Because the guy I work with on Deadbird, Sam, he's from Hamilton, so I was like anything Hamilton related, I tell him about it.
Yeah. Do you remember what the name of the cafe was?
No, it looked like it looked like an Auckland, like a fancy one,
Because I mean, the way that our Hamilton trajectory currently, we've probably got another 3 new cafes.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Wait till I tell Sam about this.
Well, because that sounds like a New Plymouth news article that might happen as well. And when I didn't live there for years, I came back and it had cafes. I was like, oh shit!
Yeah,
like
that's a wild news week, eh? Like damn, that made it onto the national platform.
Yeah, there's another big news story out of New Plymouth where this cafe had a Confederate flag like up on the wall. And yeah. So, oh shit, cafe culture. We're getting sophisticated. Whoops. Confederate flag, and then the cafe owner was in the paper, and she just kind of like, oh fuck, I had no idea. We're taking down the flag.
Then somehow, like a white supremacist ended up getting an interior design degree in publishing, and like. And got so far in their career that they were able to now start leaving little
There's a shop up in Titirangi that had one up for fucking ages, like a rockabilly junk shop.
Oh Jesus!
And they were always on the Titirangi Facebook page defending it. Just like, come on now.
Titirangi, come on! Don't swale such a artistic and hippie place. Don't do that.
Have you had any interaction with creative Waikato?
I think I've spoken to them in the past, like spoken to someone from there, but no, not as much as I should have. The thing about me is that people don't like want to believe I live in Hamilton, even though it says that in my bio, and I say that like all the time. Like even people in Hamilton don't want to believe. Like I'll meet people out like, oh, yo, what are you doing here? Like, what? Like, are you? I'm like, yeah, I live. Like I said, if you, like, you know what I mean. And so it's like, so there's people who I've had more of a relationship with the Auckland branch of it's like there's Creative NZ and then there's like Creative Waikato and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't really I really should reach out to those type of people more.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that people not believing you live in Hamilton, because like, say for the time I've known you, I've seen you in Auckland a lot. Like it's close to Hamilton, and I guess like Auckland just kind of sucks up whatever's kind of in its circumference. So like if if you're there enough, you're just like, okay, that's
Yeah.
you're Auckland. So even though I knew you were in Hamilton, say someone asked me where does Ray live, I might have said, oh, I'm not actually sure. I think he lives in Hamilton, but he's in Auckland all the time.
Yeah, but based on me seeing him at every fucking function in the last 3 weeks, I'm gonna, I mean, that's the thing though, is like you said, it's super close. And I did go for a while where I was actually, man, I was in Auckland, in like the city more than like Auckland rappers were. Like I
Yeah,
was active, you know.
yeah.
Do you have a song about Hamilton?
um, yeah, I do. I do. I don't think it's out. No, I haven't got any songs that I've definitely talked about Hamilton, like in songs before, but no, I don't have like a Hamilton anthem yet. But I've
You
got
could-
one that me and Blaze made.
You could hit up the that cafe and see if you could like
Shoot
collab with them.
video over there, like in the cafe and shit.
Yeah, got a new cafe in Hamilton. There you go.
Hey, can you tell us a bit about Mo Muse? Like he organized the march, eh?
No, it wasn't him. It wasn't Mo Muse who organized it. It was actually it was Mez Tekest, who's also known as Pharaoh Swami. He also makes music. Him
right.
and with help with a few people, his younger sister, Lulu, who what's her handle, Etoham, on something crazy. It'll be in the show footnotes. I was saying.
Yeah.
They came up with the initiative, and then they really got that moving within like 2-3 days.
Crazy. Are they young? They look young.
Yeah, they're both young. They both Lulu is like 20, like 19, 20, 21, something like that.
Damn.
Holy shit.
And Mez is like maybe 24, 25.
Fuck. That's so cool.
They're the young ones in the in the community.
So what they came up with the idea and they got the permits or whatever you need to shut the street down and.
I really don't know about the logistics of it, but all I know is they made a call,
Yeah.
call out, to myself and every all the the people in kind of our extended circle who care about this type of shit, and they were like, listen, we're thinking about this. It might be sticky, might be this or that, but I think that we should go ahead with it. It'd be dope if you could help us with it, and we all needless to say, we were just like, yep, let's go full forward, and I think it was really at the beginning it was like, okay, that's a good idea, but it just kind of like eventually just spalled into like something way bigger than any, what I mean, I guess any of the individual parties, and and it was like it was super dope.
It looked fucking
I haven't seen
man.
a turnout. I haven't seen a turnout like that since like the TPPA one. I think was the.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. That's what that's what that reminded me of.
And like how the newspaper was like there were 4,000 people there. It's like there's fucking so much more than 4,000 people.
Yeah, it looked.
Like that. It's the whole of Queen Street was filled with people, man. Like there were so many people that like when the front of the march got to the American embassy. So when you turn down, it's by Showgirls. We were still on Queen Street, and we were like, why has everyone stopped moving? And then we moved up and had a look, and it's because there were just too many people. Like you couldn't get down the street.
Yeah.
It was good too. It was a nice fast march. Like most of them you go on, they keep stopping and starting, and it was just like have some speeches, do the march, all good. It was awesome.
No, big time, man. And and like the initiative of the, of the young ones, and kind of, who still have that who are not jaded yet and have that energy to say, yo, every little thing is gonna make a difference. That's important, and I definitely want to give Mez, give Lulu, give everyone who kind of was involved in that a lot of props, because that took a lot of balls, and the thing that people, I don't know if people know, or if a lot of people really think about, is that type of shit can be career suicide. You know what I mean? Type of shit, like especially in a world where some shit is like, it's a headline for like 2 weeks, and then people, everyone moves on, and it's like, yo, what happened to that person who actually had like was had organized that and who had like and you'd never, who knows, like everyone just kind of moves on so quick that the people who are behind these things might end up, like, I don't know, just end up getting, maybe just as little as just getting harassed. And like I've already seen some like wild shit coming from even like politicians, and of course you got
hard. Well, wasn't someone saying that they should be prosecuted or something? I saw like someone saying that shit.
That they should be prosecuted.
It was fucking wild.
On some wild shit, like some, I don't know, some fucking endangering, yada yada yada, this or that, or whatever the case is, and you kind of, that's right. Like if you look in any fucking stuff.co.nz comment section.
Oh,
yeah.
Hell yeah. That's why I was pretty like, man, there's a lot to love about yesterday, and it made me homesick and miss being there. I wish I was there. But seeing Israel speak, because the listeners probably know MMA happens to be my favorite sport, and he's the best in the world at it, and he's an African man representing Aotearoa, and he represents like our home so hard, and he's already being fucking vilified by like big media people. There's a lot of fucking hatred towards him, and it's like it's not even thinly veiled racism, it's just straight up racism. Like if he was a white dude representing New Zealand on such a huge stage, everyone would be like, oh,
He'd be I mean, he's already a household name, and because people that didn't have a choice, but like he would be, you know what I mean? He would be the sweetheart of NZ. Like, oh, that's like our guy. But it's like, yo, we literally have the best fucking fighter in the world is from New Zealand. Do you understand that? Like, what more could, you know what I mean? Like, and it shows you, it does show you that, and it's definitely, I've known this to be the case for a long time, and I think that's why I've always had a strange relationship with popularity and with, I guess fame, and it's always scared me, whenever like my career would start going good, and I was always like, because I always, you see the cycle over and over again. It's like they rock with you until you get to a certain point, and then they'll do anything to tear you down, and especially once you start getting out of pocket and talking about some shit that it's like, nah, just if you play basketball, just dribble the ball and shoot.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Don't stand up for it, like, and it's and you hate to see it, but but it was dope to see Izzy, like, that's another big one to say, man, because him using his platform on that level, where it's like you can bet he lost thousands and thousands of followers through this last week of all those posts and everything like that. You can bet.
Sure.
And for a person who's in that position, we're not just talking about clout or whatever. That's money. We're talking about that's what he's putting on the line. So no, it's big love to him, and all these other people who and even and especially even more so, people who didn't necessarily have a duty to speak or duty to risk their platform or anything, but it was just like they saw that something wasn't right and they just had to, people, I'm not talking about corporations and stuff that were like, oh shit, yo, we better quickly say some shit because if we're the only ones that don't say nothing, now we look bad, I'm talking about like just the ones who just were like, yo, man, this is fucked up, and I'm gonna say some shit, and that's all people ask for, man. It's like, and it was something actually that I was thinking about before that I did want to talk about, when we talked about this stuff, and it's as simple as this, during the apartheid era, nearing the end of it, I'm sure you guys remember when the South African rugby team was supposed to tour in NZ, and NZ was that there were the people protested, they stood up against that because there was still apartheid, there was still black people couldn't go in certain places that white people could, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, people like to say shit like, what difference does it make if you know, a little protest or this or that? All of that shit adds up. You know, it all adds up, you know, and I remember being in South Africa during the apartheid, like I was there, you know, as a kid, and I heard about that. You know, we heard about all the pressure that was coming from all over the world where, you know, on New Zealand, like the rugby, and that's when it started hitting, you know, the South African apartheid regime where it hurt. It's like, fuck, we can't even go and fucking play our shit, like our sports, like, really, man. And then it's like, you know, that shit didn't ever end because they were like, yeah, nah, this is wrong. Nah, it ended because of pressure from, like,
Yeah.
like, this isn't wavy anymore. It's like,
it's just,
Well, it's like with the riots, you know, and the protests in America, and people acting like, oh, but why are they doing that? And it's like, because
Otherwise, nothing
ever
happens.
fucking changed. Yeah, it's like, you think those motherfuckers are going to cede power, like, or, you know, stop those abuses just because they, you know, they suddenly get a conscience?
The only thing people understand, really, it seems, is money, and you know, especially the, you know, governments and more like the systematic type of people. You know, it's really the financial bottom line. You know, like I like some of the shit that they've been saying out there in the U.S. Like, they did a kind of like a coat of arms to you know, people of color and people who support that to not spend any money with like corporations, like the bigger corporations, or like one day. And they were saying that if they didn't do that, like there'd be like a fucking $10 billion. I don't want to get the numbers wrong, but like a crazy deficit in just that one day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that would really like, you kind of got to act on that. Like, you know what I mean? That's
Well, that's why they respond to burning, looting, and property damage. Like, that's the shit they care about. That's what capital cares about. And like all the people who want to say looting and burning shit and damaging shit is wrong, it's like, bro, that gets results. Like, you know, sometimes peaceful protest works, but how often?
Sometimes they do, yeah. And you have to, I mean, if you have the internet, you know that they've been trying that.
Yeah.
Over and over again. Every single time it happens again, it's like they try that. Let's march on the street. Let's talk it out. Let's try and get reform in this way, shape, and form. But you know, it's at a certain point, man. It's like, you know, it's things boil over, and you know, and that's what's happening, you know, right now. And
I think the other thing is, if you commodify society and you take all these corporations and you say, like, you know, these are the shoes you should have, this is the food you should eat, these are the things you should wear, whatever, and then you put people in a position where they can't have those things, and they're getting fucked by the system, then of course when like they get to breaking point, like, you're going to react towards that shit, you know what I mean? Because they're symbols of the things you can't have, they're symbols of the system fucking you.
And people who pass judgment on looters are fucking cops.
So we already had this discussion, Raiza, in the intro.
I'm fucking pissed.
Man, I think a lot of people, I think the more safe, the ones who may be a little racist, but they more on the safe side of things, like, it's very easy for them to kind of use little things, you know, things like that, you know, like, oh, but what about this, and but what about that? But it's like, you can kind of see right through that, because the moment that you know, if your sentence didn't start with something to do with the loss of life, like human life, followed by, you know what I mean, something a little bit less serious about people losing some property or something, then that means you're basically racist. Like,
because
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because where's your focus? Like, there's a video of a man being murdered in the street by a cop. Like,
you know, I see one post about that from you, but as soon as people are like breaking some property, then
you want to chime in.
Like, that's crazy. That says a lot about it, you know.
What is it? The other thing as well is that there's video evidence of multiple times of cops in uniform and undercover cops doing heaps of that fucking damage anyway. Do you see that one where
Yeah.
there's that cop carrying all that shit out of that target, putting it in the boot of his car?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. And that's what they, and that was the other thing about and also another credit to the organizers of the of the protest, because one thing that they were saying to all of us was that they were made aware that there was a possibility of actors. I think, what do they call them? Something like that, like some type, like something actors or something like that. Who would potentially come through and try and disrupt things so that it would turn into something that would distract shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was worried about that too.
But no, everyone stayed on point. Everyone stayed
Even with that guy wearing the mega hat, like no one, like, I mean, there was someone trying to protect him, but no one beat him up or anything.
Yeah, hey, that if he had if he had gotten stomped out like that, that would have been regular. Like that.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't. That's like, yo, come on, man. These people are amazing. Like, come on.
People on their best behavior.
Yeah, and they see how important this is, man. And like, it's a shame that like America, man. It's crazy because when I was a kid, man, I wanted to go to America. Like, that was my dream. If maybe one day this rap shit will go well enough, I could make it out in the States or something like that. But it's crazy because now I'm scared of the place, and my sons are. You know what I mean? Like that's not even a dream no more. Like when you were a kid, in Africa or like probably wherever, and you were a fan of the NBA of hip hop or whatever the case is. It's your dream, but that's done now. Like even for, like I said, even for my sons, and it's heartbreaking in a way because it's like that's supposed to be, America. That's supposed to be the land of opportunity or whatever the case is, and I think that whole facade is just slowly falling apart, man. And it's frustrating because I don't.
My mate's doing heaps of reading at the moment about the fall of the Roman Empire, and he's saying that the parallels of what's going on in the States now, he said it's just crazy, like, having this like mad emperor in charge who doesn't really have any power anymore, who's lost his mind, and just having this overblown military, but then the rest of the state is falling to pieces. And he said it's really, really insane how close it is. But the other thing he was saying is that it took 200 years from the start of the fall of the Roman Empire to it actually collapsed.
Right.
And so potentially America could be going like this for a while.
I feel like, no, something's got to give soon, and I'm fucking terrified of what it's going to be. But like watching footage today of military police just like opening fire with like rubber bullets and tear gas on their own citizens. Mm-hmm. Like on peaceful protesters with their arms in the air, on their knees and shit.
Yeah.
It's
it's a civil war right now in that specific city. It's a civil war happening right now. Like I saw on the news, the governor or someone, the mayor, they're saying, yeah, well, we're bringing in forces to take back the city, and it's like, yo, if you have to fucking take back your city, you in a civil war, like you're in the civil war of 2020. Like that's what the fuck this is.
Yeah. And, well, have you seen the like far right guys coming out with weapons and shit, and they're like they're protected by the state. Like the police are on side with them.
I think one of them did a drive-by already on like a bunch of protesters or something like that.
Yeah, in Chicago,
like some shit like that, man. Like it's really, I hope and pray, because I'm from, like, in my short life, I've already witnessed, if not directly, but to a second degree, 2 regime changes, 2 what I would call civil wars. And well, one was a genocide and the other was a civil war. You know what I mean? So I know, and I definitely wasn't there on the, on the front line, and like,
you're a child, right?
That, I was just a kid, but but I still remember. There's one thing I can never shake: the feeling of like not feeling like everything can be normal one day, and then the next day it's, you know what I mean? It's like everything's different.
Yeah.
You know, next day it's a you know, whether it's a war or it's like, yo, we gotta, you know, pack our shit and move, or whether it's like, hey, you know, your aunties and uncles, you know, that stayed behind, that, you know what I mean? Like, it's so every time shit like this happens, I'm always like, is this the time? Are we about to witness history, like a really bloody chapter of history, or a crazy chapter again, or some, you know what I mean? I'm always on edge. Whereas everyone around me is usually like, no, you know, you know, they kind of used to, you know, live in
Yeah.
a somewhat stable society. So it's like, nah, you know, I'm sure it's gonna go over and things will eventually be fine, and, you know, we can love each other and things like that.
Yeah. It's
Well,
funny
we're
you
definitely
mention.
living through a period. This is definitely history is happening. You know, this just the last 6 months. It's just crazy the
Yeah.
amount of shit that's, you know, like even just say if the riots stop tomorrow and the protests stop tomorrow, and everything goes back to quote unquote normal, that's still a historic moment. Like there's never been anything like that, at least in our lifetimes.
Biggest uprising they reckon since perhaps the one in the 60s. So it's big. It's bigger than 92.
Is it
Like,
the Americans bigger than the what's like remember those LA riots
yeah,
already?
the Rodney King. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, because
Way,
that
way
was
bigger.
localized though, wasn't it? Really, I mean, I
Yeah,
think a few popped off in different cities, but it was mainly LA. Whereas this is, you know,
like
what is it like 30
nearly
states?
every city. Yeah,
Yeah.
nearly every state in the whole country, like on
Yeah, man.
fire.
Mm.
Can't
And
shit on people forever, man. It's
yeah,
especially man. I feel from the, you know, the African Americans, man, and that's wild for me to say as like an African. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, I'm like, yo, come back home. Like, we will take y'all gladly. Like, yo, we will make our own NBA, our own NFL. You know what I mean? Like, trust me. Like,
you,
we can, you know, we'll be fine. But you
you know
know,
how you say, Ray, like having lived through genocide, then these moments put you on edge probably more than your regular person who's grown up in a relatively safe society. I know, like this whole week, this is, I think, I don't know, it's been growing each time something pops off, but this time I feel like I'm real anxious about what's going on this time, eh? I'm like, this is gonna be some shit. Like, it's been 7 days in the States, and it
and,
looks,
and and that's already broke. Probably, you know what I mean. In this quick digested news cycle, you know, era, it's like that already is 1 week is like that's like 6 months, and, you know, back like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you know.
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's this one feels different, you know, and you know, my, like I said before, like my whole thing is the more times that this type of shit happens, and then everyone is like outraged and then moves on after that, it's like, you know, it's like trying to, you know, it's like when you're trying to, you know, I think all of us can probably relate to this one. It's like when you're trying to quit cigarettes or some shit like that. The more times you try and quit and it doesn't work, the weaker you know, the less chance it's gonna actually happen. You know what I mean? Or it feels like that, anyways, for myself, because I tried a lot of times, and
Likewise.
I'm tired. Like, I just don't want. I want the. I want, like, you know, this. I want this to be something, because there's gonna come a point where people become just desensitized. You know what I mean? They will become used to it, and that's gonna be even worse than
Yeah,
what's happening. Is
yeah,
when you like, oh yeah, oh, did that happen? Oh, again, damn. All
yeah,
right, that's life, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's the bigger evil I see, or like the worst outcome. You know what I mean?
yeah. And so many people, like even supposed leftists, are pushing a return to like what has already been happening. So the the nominee for the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, today, this is the guy they chose over Bernie Sanders, who would be pro demilitarizing the police and like actual reform of the police force. They chose a guy who today was talking about, oh, the police should just learn to shoot people in the legs and
Yeah.
arms. And it's like, oh, so you're the pro maiming candidate. Like,
Yeah.
you,
Okay. Oh man.
it's fucked up, man. And like, yeah, something's got to give, because like neither party in the States, and it's similar in political systems around the world, neither of the like main parties actually give a fuck about this shit. They don't care about it changing.
No.
No. Uh, um. it's just so it's a lot of it is just fucking like how you look or perception. It's like, oh, yo, I better say something about it, and it's getting harder and harder to tell, But like I always tell, I tell my young homies, and because I think with like my younger homies is they are angry, and they almost angry to the point where the anger sometimes is just it's like it's just out everywhere. You know what I mean? It's to everyone. If you ain't with the, it's just, or if you may be with us, but if I'm not sure, or if you know what I mean, it's just like it's, and like I say, man, if when you're at war, you need as many people as you can to be on, riding with you, and sometimes it's, even if it means educating people and kind of letting people ask questions and things like that. I got a lot of questions, people asking me about, about the protest and like about, why, about what, if I thought, how effective I thought it would be, and, and why, and I had to send them, like, I sent links and I sent articles and I sent, and I explained it to, the ones who weren't just obviously just being like, dickheads. And and a lot of them were like, yo, all right, see you there. You know what I mean? And sometimes people want to ride with you, and they just need to know certain things, and they need to not be afraid to ask, and if we're really trying to do this thing and make it a thing, man, we need big numbers, just like we did on that day. And just like everyone's been doing, on their platforms, and kind of, really just trying to spread awareness. And all that does at the end of the day is it just kind of shows the U.S. like, man, this is really inconvenient for us. Like, we might have to talk about this, because it's like, geez, the whole world. I just got tweeted from the president of Sweden, and he's now like doesn't want to come to this next fucking UN meeting. And now, that's the only way. It's like, make it inconvenient, vocalize the shit, and that's how it makes, that's the difference that it will make. It's as simple as that. That's what I've been telling everyone. It's like all this little shit, every single little repost, or the story, Instagram thing or whatever. That's what it does. That's all it does. It adds a little bit more towards the people who are in the office being like, fuck's sake. All right, okay, fine, okay.
Well, I thought this was interesting, but the march is the first protest in this country that's really blown up solely from social media. Do you know what I mean?
And you know how quick, because that was 2 days. It was like 2 days.
Yeah, because I remember the first time someone shared it, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. And I hit my mate up, I was like, we should go to this. And then suddenly it was like within hours, it was just everywhere.
Exactly. No. It was it's a changing world, man. Like, but I still hope, like I said, last 10 years, man. Like, I think all of us can probably relate to this, but sometimes I surprise myself when I think 2010. Wait, is that what year is it? 2020, right?
Yeah.
2010 was 10 years ago. Like, it was a decade ago. Like, it feels like it's like yesterday. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I have regrets older than that shit. Like,
what year did you put out your first project?
Dream something. What would that have been? It probably was. I think it's like 8 years ago. I think it was 2000. Yeah, 2012. 2012. That was the year.
Oh shit.
That was the. God damn. Fuck.
You'll want to know what year I put my first project out in. 2006, I think.
Well, I mean, when I had put out my first album, I had already heard like both of the albums from both of y'all, like maybe more than one. I think that was Breaking Records era.
Yeah.
I think around that time when I was like, nah, I want to be a rapper. Yeah,
Hey,
man.
This brings me to something else I wanted to ask you about. Like, because from my perception, you've played a pretty big role in ushering in, like, African New Zealand music. Like, do you feel like that's the case? Because you were, like, there've been people before you, but you kind of, like, seem to usher it in and bring people with you and kind of, and it's much more of a staple than it ever was, like there's a lot of African artists in New Zealand now, like
That it was definitely an intention of mine. It was definitely, it's been a long time intention of mine because I had, man, I had like probably 3 good years in this rap shit, like, unlike the as good as it gets in NZ, you know what I mean, where it's like, oh shit, go out to Christchurch, play to 150 200 people. It's like, you're out in Dunedin, and but I was super lonely, man, and it's like, and I was the only person like me, in the game, and yeah, I always just wanted to share that, and kind of share a lot of this other talent that I saw. I mean, if your question is, was that an intentional thing, or like or something that that I'm aware that I might have had an impact with, definitely. And the only way I can be as effective with that is by being like, yo, that's my mission, and it is my mission. Because and to be honest, it's also, I have my own selfish reasons for it. If I keep helping put on artists that change the landscape, I remain relevant. It's
yeah, for real.
I still get a not maybe a financial payoff, but I still get my legacy. Is helped with that. So yeah, man, I love this shit, man. Now when I look around, and when I now there's 3, 4, 5 African artists going city to city doing 200 people a venue, and and it's changing the way people think, and and now my kids they're being black in NZ is normal.
Yeah,
It's not weird, or like it's not like whoa shit, like, you know what I mean?
That visibility, right?
It does that, and it's like, my daughter loves Just B, she and that's she's a black woman killing it, and it's like, for her, she's I never saw that when I was a kid,
Yeah.
And I didn't know that it was an issue or anything, because it's like, if you're never exposed to something, you don't know the absence of it. But now when I see them comfortable and like confident and stuff like that, and feeling like they can do whatever, I'm just like, yeah, no, that's what we're trying to do, that's what we're trying to achieve. So it's a beautiful thing, and all these other motherfuckers, they're dope as shit. Like, they are better versions of myself, they the and my thing is like trying to help them skip mistakes and shit. I think that's my shit. They're trying to help them skip the mistakes and not go through that whole phase and waste 2 years of, you know what I mean?
I think that goes back to, like, Izzy speaking at the march, and the importance of that, and how powerful it is that, like, the best sportsman in the country is a black man, and he's saying whatever the fuck he wants to say, like, he's being unbridled and outspoken about, like, what's going on in the world. I think is so fucking important, man. And like, I just like can't appreciate that enough for our home.
Cannot state that enough, man. Cannot state that enough, and the worst, and it's fucked up, because some of the people who will criticize that will be the same people who will be like, yeah, Muhammad Ali was one of the greatest. So it's like,
people hated Ali.
Yeah. People, exactly. You know what I mean? And you can't pick and choose. It's like, we are living history right now. You know, and that's what it is. It's it's uncomfortable, sure, but it's more than uncomfortable for a lot of people. So but no, you're right, man. It's been super dope to see, man. Even people I didn't expect to you know what I mean, jump to come out there, and to pop out, and with their thoughts and stuff like that. It's just been really like, wow, okay, y'all rocking.
Yeah. So I think, like, thinking about Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, MLK, they were hated people in their time, and now, like, and now they're out the way, it's real easy for everyone to be like, oh, we love those figures. But it makes it important for us to, like, appreciate those people who are doing that, like in front of us in the flesh, like
Exactly. Because the present is way less epic than history. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like someone might be doing some fucking historic. I was looking at some of those pictures from from the protest, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Bro, that is like 20 years from now."
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that will be remembered. Like that's history. And
It's
and
funny
I
though
think,
when you're there, and you're like shoes are wet, and then you're like you can't really hear the speeches properly, and you're like, "Fuck, did I lock the car?" You know what I mean? Like everything's always like that. It's the same with the pandemic, right? I was like, "Fuck, man, it's way more boring than I thought it would be." You know, like
like I'm sure the Spanish flu like sounds fucking crazy right now, but it was probably like, yo, come on, man, what the fuck, like can't go outside, like
yeah.
it's like,
Imagine not
but
being able to go outside 100 years ago as well. Like,
Jesus.
no internet and shit.
Fuck.
Fuck that.
not,
They would
probably a
have,
lot of
but they
people
would
didn't
have
have
been anything
power.
that's crazy. Like that's probably why the flu went crazy.
That
Yeah.
speaks to the importance of the moment and like doing what you can and not missing out on that too for yourself. Like go be a part of that history. Like
Exactly.
today I was having a sook because I saw the march in Auckland. I was like, I want to do that at home. I don't want to march in Melbourne. And and I was like, that's so fucking selfish, man. Like I'm going to march. I'm going with my cousin. I'm going with friends. It's gonna like for again selfish reasons. It's gonna make me feel heaps better to go out, and it always does, man. Like if you get off your ass and go do something, it feels empowering and
Something bigger than oneself, you know what I mean? Because we would be riding with whoever else it was, you know what I mean? If it
yeah,
was women's rights, or if it was, gay rights, or if it was whatever, we you know what I mean? It's does we shouldn't get stuck on what the cause is. It's like if someone else, some other section of the world is getting shitted on, like
yeah,
that's what our privilege has afforded us, and that's what I can walk around and you know what I mean. That's what if you live somewhere or in a situation where you have just little things that you probably don't even think about, like you really, it's the least that we can do. And that's why I keep talking about it. Like, I think a lot of people think that, a lot of people have, I wasn't involved in the organization of this at all, or, I really haven't even been on the front line like that. I've been doing, what I can to spread the message, but I'm simply just supporting, just like everyone else. You know what I mean? I'm just
yeah,
doing my part to, I'm not going through that personally. I'm thinking about the people, the African Americans in the U.S. And even to that extent is why I've been a little bit tactful and careful about how I vocalize it, because I don't want to. It is personal, of course, but I don't want to personalize it. It's not about me. You know what I mean? It's not about what I've been through in my various experiences or whatever. It's about them and supporting that. And I think that's something that I just really try and tell as many people as I can. Is like, it's not I'm just out here just because they go. It doesn't matter who I was, that's still wrong. You know what I mean? And I'd still
yeah.
be, trying to support that. So, but I think we're on the right track, man. Like we've got enough support. I think that the snakes are showing their colors, and sometimes that's a blessing too. To know exactly where people are at.
Are they
Yeah,
what?
for real. Where we at for time, Dan?
Yeah, about like hour 20.
Oh, shit.
The intro.
Oh,
Oh
damn.
yeah, better wrap it up. Hey, thanks heaps, man. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
It's
thanks
great
so
to
much,
finally
Ray.
get you on.
Yeah. Oh no, we're gonna need a part two, man. Because I sent Dom my list of shit that I want to talk about. We ain't even talk about none of that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we'll get you back on for sure. If you want to send us one of your songs as well, we can chuck it at the end.
Okay, cool. You know what? Oh, no, my next album is mad depressing. But yeah, I'll send
It's
you
all right
one
to
of
have something depressing.
We love being depressed.
Yeah.
We live for that shit.
All right, okay, cool. No, I'm sure I could. Yeah. I'll send you some shit tomorrow.
And where can people find the new album?
It'll be everywhere. Spotify, the iTunes, the Bandcamps, the SoundClouds, the YouTube.
All the shits.
Yeah, all the shits, you know. It's a little. I wasn't gonna drop the album. It wasn't part of my, you know, release plan. But you know, when you know, the isolation and the virus and everything happened, I was just like, you know what, everyone's kicking back, so fuck it.
Man,
Just let the people have it.
I think it's good timing, man. People need some fucking relief this week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hopefully, it can distract people a little bit, and yeah. But no, man, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure catching up with you guys. It's definitely
Yeah, you too, bro.
All right, man. Take it easy, brother.
All right, man. Peace.
Later, bro.
Are we staying on, guys?
Huh?
Are we done? Are we staying on or are we done?
We're done. So Ray's still there.
Stop video. Oh wait, leave.
Keep all the sun down.
Yeah, fellas.
This could be the intro. Oh shit, I should stop recording it.
Listen to next message, press 2.
Damn, straight to voicemail again, huh? Hey, little Biza, man, I see you over there in Melbourne on your Instagram story going crazy. Hey, listen, man, stop ducking my calls. Give me a call back as soon as you get this, man. I'm trying to get the lowdown, right? Hey, don't be stupid out there either, man. Alright, that's right. Alright, peace, and be back.
I met her in November.
I know this what you talking about.
Her essence was familiar.
Are you in your feelings now?
I think I really like her.
I think you doing your shit again.
I think she might be wifey though.
I think that you just feel the
It's like we met a while ago.
Oh, you think she cute, huh?
Now she was the baddest bro.
Now I know you strong.
We Ubered out to Ray Ray.